We've got to vote on January 6th on certification, and every member of Congress faces a dilemma. Frankly, two pretty lousy choices. One, we can vote to certify, not consider any objections. If we do that, that will be heard by a lot of Americans as saying we don't think voter fraud is a real concern.
Senator Ted Cruz there on why he wants a commission to audit the results of the 2020 presidential election. And he's joined by several other Republican senators who plan to object to Electoral College votes from some states that declared Biden the winner. The new Congress is set to meet Wednesday to formally count those votes. One of those lawmakers joins us now, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, good morning to you and welcome. Why do you plan to object to the certification of the election?
Good morning, Sandra, and Happy New Year.
To you as well.
From my standpoint, we simply cannot dismiss the concerns of tens of millions of Americans that have suspicions. And let's face it, I mean, just from the standpoint, you hear all these people, there's no evidence. There's all kinds of evidence, and it starts with the fact that Republican observers were not granted access to actually observe the count. You know, the lack of chain of custody of so many of these absentee ballots. So, we can't simply dismiss those concerns. We are in an unsustainable state of affairs in America. We've just come off of 4 years where the other side never acknowledged the legitimacy of President Trump. And here we are again because of this surge, 60, 70 million absentee ballots in this election by states that really did not institute the controls. Democrats continued to push the relaxing of controls over absentee ballots, which has created all these allegations of wrongdoing, potentially fraudulent votes. We can't ignore that. We need to investigate this, and that's really what we're calling for, is a commission to be set up immediately to at least organize these, acknowledge these problems, so certainly moving forward, we can correct them.
Senator, you got into it with a TV anchor over the weekend on just that. And to your quoting of others who say there's just no evidence, why would you move forward in this way? You had a back and forth that made a lot of news. Watch this.
The fact of the matter is that we have an unsustainable state of affairs in this country where we have tens of millions of people that do not view this election result as legitimate.
You made an allegation that there was widespread fraud. You have failed to offer specific evidence of that widespread fraud, but you're demanding an investigation on the grounds that there are allegations of widespread fraud. So essentially, you're the arsonist here.
This fire was started when you completely ignored, for example, our investigation of Hunter Biden, where Republicans and conservatives do not trust the mainstream media, and that is what has destroyed the credibility of the media. So
all right, I've had enough of hearing this.
He called you an arsonist, said he had enough of hearing what you had to say there. We talked to Jonathan Turley earlier on this program, Senator, who said it's completely reasonable to ask these questions, but what he's questioning is the timing of the commission. Why do this now? Why not look at this bigger picture down the road to make sure that we ensure the integrity of our elections for the future, considering we're just days away from that certification?
Well, we should probably do both. But right now, we have this issue in front of us as to whether or not certify electors for certain states that really did not follow the election rules laid down by their state legislators, and that's a constitutional issue as well. So what we're saying is let's delay accepting a particular state's electors until we actually investigate what the issues are in that particular state. And every state is completely different. But no, it's pretty offensive, very unprofessional of a broadcaster, in this case Chuck Todd, to be accusing me of being an arsonist when the fact of the matter is it's the news media that carry the Democrats' water. They're the ones that listen to the false reports of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, carried the Democrats' waters for a couple of years. I've never heard them apologize. I've never heard them call that assault on our democracy dangerous. And yet when conservatives have legitimate concerns about this surge in absentee ballots and the type of fraudulent activity that we have witnessed, again, why would you not allow Republican observers to observe the vote count? Why would you be opposed to, for example, voter identification? There's only one logical answer: is you want to create fraud in the election process, which creates suspicions and reduces the legitimacy of that type of voting system. That's our concern. This is not sustainable, as I've said repeatedly, in our Democrat republic.
That's obviously a big allegation, and that's at the center of this debate, one which Tom Cotton will not join, along with you and other Republican senators who plan to go challenge the certification process. Tom Cotton says the founders entrusted our elections chiefly to the states, not Congress. They entrusted the election of our president to the people, acting through the Electoral College, not Congress, and they entrusted the adjudication of election disputes to the courts, not Congress. Sir, I'll tell you that President Trump just a few moments ago tweeted about Tom Cotton, because that is an interesting twist in this. He has been a staunch supporter of the president. He's saying that Republicans, he's warning Tom Cotton in a new tweet that Republicans have pluses and minuses, but one thing is sure, they never forget. Seems like it's a warning to Tom Cotton for not jumping on to this commission along with you and your other colleagues.
Well, first of all, I think we're all sensitive to the fact that we want elections to be run by states, and we respect states' rights. But again, we can't turn a blind eye to the Electoral College when some of these electors were chosen and certified over the objection of their own state legislatures. Again, this is a mess. We knew it was going to be a mess. I agreed to President Trump when he talked about his concern about this, vast increase in absentee ballots, and now we're living the results.
Why do you think, Senator, why do you think your colleague Tom Cotton
They're the ones that reduce the controls on this, and we have to make sure we have controls to make sure that every legitimate vote not only counts, but that every vote is legitimate. Democrats aren't particularly concerned about that last point.
Were you surprised that Tom Cotton didn't join in with you and your other colleagues on this?
No, listen, I share the concern of my Republican colleagues that we don't want Congress coming in here and overturning the election or disenfranchising voters. Mm-hmm. I understand that. But we also can't dismiss these legitimate concerns, this unprecedented level of allegations of voter fraud and either violations of or lax enforcement of election laws, and unelected officials, not part of state legislators, writing the rules for elections. That's not the constitutional method. So there are so many issues involved here, such a short period of time. Yeah. And one of the reasons that voter fraud might potentially grow is because it's rarely investigated, it's rarely prosecuted, and so it's going to grow. We can't allow it to grow, not be able to maintain our constitutional republic.
Senator Johnson, with the few seconds I have left, do you worry that this could distract or take away from the ability for those Republicans to win those seats down in Georgia, knowing how crucial that is to the future of this country?
Absolutely. The fact that we must win those Senate seats should be certainly a high priority here, because people need to understand that Democrats get total power. We're not going to recognize this country in 6 months to a year. Those seats are crucial. So I'm urging every legitimate Georgia voter to get out and vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue.
Senator Ron Johnson, really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Have a good day.